guys, some gamer dude here. Xride is one of the most controversial mechanics in the history of Vanguard, allegedly warping the game around the clans that received it at its debut. Xride is said to have been what rendered the second block, Asia Circuit, weak and ineffectual, as well as been the catalyst to cause the game to power creep in 3 consecutive blocks: Link Joker, Legion Mate, and finally G. This is an interesting perspective on history and the Xride mechanic. So let's go back. During the original Vanguard run, a Xride was identified with one defining trait, having an effect that gives it plus 2000 on both turns for having a specific grade 3 in the soul. That grade 3 being the original form of that character and the Xride being the powered up form. This plus 2000 is usually the crux of the argument that the Xride mechanic warped the game around the clans that had it, as it gave the Xride decks an exceptionally high defense. The game up to that point being designed around 16k columns and a maximum 11,000 Vanguard. The 13,000 base of the Xride is actually quite balanced in terms of how it's achieved. The Xride is designed in much the same vein as a ride chain. Specific card gives it plus 1000, or in the case of Blaster Javelin and the other BTO4 ride chains, plus 2000 at the lower 6000 base on grade 1. Those cards excuse their plus 2000 because they are 6000 otherwise and have an effect that works only when they are on rear. The Xride excuses its plus 2000 versus a plus 1000 boost because of how the card functions. It's a further minus 1 on top of a normal ride, effectively making it a grade 4. Going by how cards with effects are usually allocated power, a grade 4 would have 13,000 power. This is indeed what they have when 4 grade 4 were actually printed, not including the G units. Interestingly enough, there are notes from the Cardfight Vanguard mangaka Akira Ito that the original system for the game would have actually included a grade 4 and the original Dragonic Overlord was designed as one, except in early development there was no grade 0, who started at grade 5 and rode up to grade 1. Wingo was originally a grade 5. But as we've discussed, there are certain ramifications of introducing a new power threshold, namely the ability to hit it. The game was by and large designed around an 11,000 base. This 13,000 base typically necessitates the grade 1 vanilla to pair with the vanilla grade 2 or any grade 3 at 10,000 plus power. There seems to be some concession that this 13,000 base made the vast majority of clans unplayably bad because they couldn't hit a Xride in a way that would force 2 stages of shielding, or 10,000 shield. This is grossly inaccurate. Only one clan didn't have a realistic way to have an 11,000 grade 2 to have the desired 18,000 column with the standard 7,000 booster. Every ride chain from BTO4 had a 12,000 beta. So did the Xrides from BTO5, Tsukuyomi, and Majesty Lord Blaster. That's 6 of the 14 clans to be complete by BTO5. Neonectar, Tachikaze, Grand Blue, Mega Colony, Dark Irregulars, Nova Grappler, Oracle Think Tank, and Pale Moon all have really easy to achieve 11,000 or 12,000 betas. Pale Moon, Royal Paladin, and Dark Irregulars even have really easy to achieve 9,000 boosters to pair with 9,000 attackers. The only clan that doesn't have any way to achieve 18,000 with a grade 2 in this meta is Spike Brothers. But there is more proof that the Xride mechanic was never broken, what was actually prominent at the time. Goddess of the Full Moon has nothing to do with the Xride mechanic, but has both a fair amount of plus 1s, rare at the time, along with the stacked game plan. Majesty Lord Blaster was Xride adjacent, having a 12,000 base once its skill is activated, and existed in a deck that could both plus 1 itself and minus 1 the opponent. Dragonic Overlord the End was the only Xride of the 3. But all 3 had something else in their favour, being some of the most supported clans at the time. The other Xride, Phantom Blaster Overlord, wasn't prominent at all. It has bulk, it has filter, plus 1s, but it didn't do much of anything. This is where the argument that Xrides by their very nature were broken starts falling apart, because despite being a Xride, only one of 2 existing at the time, Phantom Blaster Overlord was bad. Not really that overcosted at the time, as plus 5,000 as an act was costed at CB2, the same as a card, but the very nature of the card as a heavy cost for something that can be rendered moot for a perfect card was horrible. Sure, it was better than the original Phantom Blaster Dragon, costed it 4 cards worth itself for the same effect, but that was a horrible card too. It's going from really freaking terrible to just plain bad. Frankly, Phantom Blaster Overlord was a blank card bar the bulk in a deck that grabbed a couple of cards. This is why it did absolutely nothing. The Crossride mechanic by itself breaks nothing. But what about Dragonic Overlord the End? Dragonic Overlord the End is a Crossride and dominated the game until it was restricted so hard that it was effectively banned and power crept past. It started the very idea that the Crossride was broken due to being one itself, despite this not being the case. So join me next week when we look at Dragonic Overlord the End and what made him a force that changed the game forever.